Hello everyone! Happy Tuesday! Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And I am super excited to share with you today these beautiful fall-themed projects featuring the new Come Together suite from the Stampin Up! Holiday Catalogue. Now let me bring in the catalog and show you just what I'm talking about. So the suite is found on page 46, so right towards the back. We kind of go in reverse chronological order in this catalog. We start with Christmas and we work our way back. So here we have the Come Together suite. Now this suite includes several different products that all coordinate to make beautiful fall-themed projects. So let me show you the products a little bit closer up. I'm going to get the projects out of the way. And I'm going to bring in sort of our feature, or the centerpiece of the suite is this awesome bundle. So Come Together, or the suite features the Gather Together stamp set, okay, which has some beautiful fall imagery, a lovely maple leaf, which I am partial to, being from Canada. Oh, hi Debbie, thanks for stopping by today. Some pumpkin imagery and a sheaf of wheat, a nice spatter, which we're going to use, and then some lovely sentiments. So again, we have a great stamp set that includes both imagery and sentiments, which is kind of a one-stop shop. And then, of course, we have these beautiful coordinating dies. Now, 4 of the dies are designed to cut out stamped images. So the maple leaf cuts out the stamped maple leaf, and then we have our little pumpkins that cut out, okay, and the large pumpkin. Now, in addition to those 4, we also have 3 dies that cut and emboss at the same time. So we have a large sort of 3-point leaf, a smaller one, and then another maple leaf. Okay, now you are going to see these dies in action, and they are absolutely gorgeous. I cannot get enough of these leaves. All right, so that is the bundle. We'll set that aside. And now, of course, every suite has to have some gorgeous DSP, and this one is no exception. So on one side of the DSP pack, we have beautiful fall imagery. So we've got leaves, we've got pumpkins, sort of more pumpkins with a sheaf of wheat, we've got feathers, we've just got some foliage, and then more pumpkins. Okay, and then when we turn them over, we have some more sort of generic designs that can be used all year round. So this polka dot sort of linen pattern I love. I've used this a lot. Actually, I'm already out. I've got like 4 packs of this paper and I've used up all of this particular pattern. We have another sort of fall foliage pattern. We have one that looks like hardwood, okay, or pallets. And then we have a fun plaid, a pinstripe, and of course gingham. So this paper is super versatile. Like I said, I've used this a lot with Christmas projects. I've been working on Christmas at the same time as fall, and I have used a ton of this paper for non-fall theme projects. So you're going to find it really, really versatile. Now, in addition to the paper and the bundle, we also have some awesome embellishments. So these wooden embellishments are so cool. So we have, you get all of this in one pack, like a lot, okay? That's a lot of embellishments. So these little sort of wood slices are designed to be tags. You'll see that there's a little hole in them, and you can use them as tags, but I have used them an awful lot on my projects as embellishments. Now, the other cool thing is that you can use your ink and some sponge daubers and change the color of these. So you can darken them if you want it like a dark wood grain. You can add color. It's pretty darn cool. The other really cool thing is that on the reverse side, you can stamp right on the wood. Okay, so you can use this as a tag with a stamped sentiment. Okay, pretty cool. Hi, Jamie, how you doing? And then, of course, we have the feathers. Okay, now we have a pheasant feather, and then we have, I don't know what this could be, maybe a turkey feather. And these, again, can also be colored, okay, just by taking a sponge dauber and some ink to them. So I have used up a couple of packages of these already. Okay, so those are your embellishments. And then, of course, we have some gorgeous ribbon as well. Now, this crumb cake ribbon is just stunning. I know it probably doesn't show up really well in the catalog, but it's got like almost like a velvety feel in the center and then beautiful satin trim on either side. And it is really nice, soft, supple ribbon. It ties up just beautifully. Okay, it's an inch wide, so it's a little bit wider than many of the ribbons we carry, but it just is absolutely beautiful. Okay, ties beautiful bows. So that, and along with this, you get this Cajun Craze linen thread. So linen thread is one of my favorite things to use, just because it's easy. It adds just a hint of texture without overpowering a design. And this linen thread actually comes in Cajun Craze, which is obviously one of the colors in the DSP pack. And again, it's super versatile and perfect for fall. So, are you ready to do some stamping? Let's get to it. I'm just going to get these guys out of the way. Don't want this to go too far because I'm going to need it later. All right, so our first project today is going to be this one. So this is a non-traditional fall card, right? We don't really think of sort of pale green as a fall color, but it totally works with this paper. So let me just bring in all of my supplies here. I just realized I need to grab my Stampin' Blends. We need this one and we need this one, I think. Yes. Okay. So to start, we are going to stamp and color our pumpkins. So I have just a little scrap of Whisper White cardstock. And I have my 2 pumpkin stamps, okay? And for this one, I actually am going to stamp in Pear Pizzazz. Now, normally, when I am going to color with my Stampin' Blends, I advise everybody to stamp in the Memento black ink. That is so that the ink doesn't run, okay? Now, there are some of our ink colors that will stand up to use with the Stampin' Blends. You kind of have to experiment a little bit. So stamp an image, try coloring. If the ink runs, then you know you can't use it with your blends. If it doesn't run, then it is totally safe to use. And as you can see here, I stamped my images in the the Pear Pizzazz ink and then colored with my Mint Macaron blends, and they were just fine. So let's do it. So we're going to stamp our large pumpkin and our 2 smaller pumpkins. Okay, now these, again, they will cut out with those dies. I have already gone ahead and cut some ahead of time, just so you didn't have to watch me haul my Big Shot all the way over here. So I'm going to pull those out. Come here, you guys. There they are. Okay, so they are magically already die cut. I'm that fast. And we're going to color these. I didn't do any shading on these. I thought the hash marks or the hash lines on the stamped image were sufficient to provide some interesting shading. So all I did is I took my light Mint Macaron marker and colored my pumpkins. Okay, and you can go right over top of that stamped image. It's not going to run. You are safe. Same thing on the large one. Okay, you'll notice I'm using my brush tip again. That's just to provide faster coverage. If you prefer the bullet tip, you can totally use that. I am just trying to color these guys quickly so we can get on to the rest of the card. Okay, so there are my pumpkins, and then I took my light Old Olive, which is very close to Pear Pizzazz, and I colored the stems with the light Old Olive. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, super simple, right? Hey Paula, how are you doing? Did you just wake up? I bet you did, coming off the night shift. Okay, now I have here a piece of the beautiful Come Together DSP. So this has the gingham on one side and the pumpkins on the other. This is cut to 5 1/4 by 3 inches. And then I have a piece of Crumb Cake cardstock that was originally cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I ran through my Big Shot, and I still have some bits here to poke out, using the delicate lace edgelet dies. Okay, now those are often forgotten about in the catalog. They are carried over in the annual catalog from last year. And one of the reasons they kind of get missed is that they were never part of a bundle. So a lot of people just don't really look that closely at the die page. They kind of of focus on the bundles and forget that we have some beautiful dies that are not bundled with stamp sets. And this delicate lace border die is one of them, okay? It makes beautiful decorative edges on your cardstock, okay? So all I did is I ran my cardstock through with that die. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere my DSP onto that panel. I'm going to leave about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch border at the top and the bottom, okay? So I'm just going to use a bit of Tombow here so that I get my wiggle time to make sure I get that exactly where I want it. So we're just going to slide that on there just about, whoopsie, like that. Okay. All right, now here I have a little bit of braided linen trim. This again is one of my favorite embellishments. This and linen thread are the two that I use by far the most often. And I am going to lay, adhere one end of the braided trim to the back of my panel. And I'm just using a glue dot. And then I'm going to trim. I cut these are about, I don't know, 5 3/4 inches when I end up cutting them. So if you wanted to cut them ahead of time, you could do that. I tend to work off the roll just because then I'm not wasting anything. And so I've got one, and then I'm going to do a second one, and I'm going to crisscross them just like that on the front of my panel. So we'll add another glue dot there and stick that down. Hey Sandy, how are ya? Okay, so that's what I've got so far. Right? You with me? Okay, now we're going to set this aside. Actually, you know what? Why don't we just glue it onto our card base? Here is my Mint Macaron cardstock base. Hey, sister, how are you? I've been thinking about you all day. I hope you're doing okay. So this Mint Macaron card base is cut to 5.5 by 8.5 and then scored in the middle at 4 1/4. I'm going to fold in half along that score line and crisp it up with my bone folder. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that panel to the front of my card. Now you're going to see I'm going to have an equal border on 3 sides, and then this decorative border is going to be a little bit wider. Okay, so for this I'm just going to go ahead and use some fast fuse. You can use whatever adhesive you happen to have. We do not carry fast fuse anymore, and I am carefully rationing my supply because when I'm out, and I think I will cry because it is my favorite adhesive and I don't know what I will do without it. Okay, so there is my card base. I'm going to set this aside. We're going to stamp our label. So here I have a Whisper White label. It is cut using the stitched nested labels dies, okay? And I am going to stamp my sentiment in Crumb Cake. This is a sentiment from the, what is it, Gather Together stamp set. And actually the sentiment says, Gather Together. Hi, Elfie. Hi, Deb, how are you? So I'm going to ink up my stamp, and this I'm going to stamp sort of towards one side because I have to remember I'm going to have my little collage of leaves here, and not perfectly in the middle. I'm going to do it a little bit towards the bottom, just like that. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to do is bring in my wheat sheaf, and I'm going to ink it up in the Crumb Cake, but then I'm going to stamp off once. And I'm going to just add that sort of on an angle there. So it's going to be peeking out from under my leaves once I build my collage. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. All right, so next we are going to sort of build our collage. And this is kind of like floral arranging, but with die cuts. Okay, so you'll notice that I put some leaves in behind my label and then others on top. And that just adds dimension and texture. Okay, so the one that I'm going to put on the back, I'm going to use this maple leaf. So these were cut using the gathered leaves dies, and here is a tip for using those dies. Okay, before you run them through your machine to cut them, you want to spritz them lightly with a bit of water. All right, and that is going to give you a better embossed image. Can you see the difference? Let's see. When I made this card, I didn't know about this tip. So do you see that? The embossing is not super pronounced. Look at the difference. Can you see the difference in those? Does that show up on the camera? I hope it does. This one has far more pronounced embossing than this one. Okay, so it's a big difference. So don't forget to do that when you are using these dies. Okay, so I'm going to add my little maple leaf here. And then let's see, let's do our big 3-point leaf on the back at the bottom. We'll kind of build it like this. This may not look exactly like the original, but we're just going to play around. We're going to add, let's add these are champagne foil. Okay, so all of my leaves are die cut from our cardstock. So this is Mint Macaron, this is Crumb Cake, and this is champagne foil. So we are going to add that one, and then maybe we'll add this guy down here. So you can build this with glue dots, you can build it with snail, whatever your preferred adhesive is. You could absolutely use Tombow if that is your preferred adhesive. Okay, that one's just a little bit too overlapping there. We'll turn that a bit. And then we're going to add another one up here. We'll kind of tuck that guy there. And then we're going to add one more champagne one to the bottom. Yes, it does, Deb. It absolutely makes a huge difference, that spritzing. When I discovered that, I was rather excited. Okay, so we've got our leaves. Now we just need to add our pumpkins. Okay, so these are going to overlap and they're going to get popped up. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere my first pumpkin just with a couple of dimensionals. This is the large pumpkin. So we'll just throw a couple dimensionals on the back there and pop that right about there. Okay. And now these guys, because they're going to overlap, I want to make sure that they don't kind of bump up. So this little pumpkin here is just going to get a little bit of snail or fast fuse on the back of him. And then this other guy is going to get a dimensional. And that is so that when I overlap them, they sit flat on the card. Okay? All right, so now the next step is to just adhere this to the front of our card. Now, because of this braided linen trim, if I glue this flat, it's not going to lay perfectly flat. And I have a thing about that. I just don't like the look of it. So I'm actually going to pop this whole thing up with a few dimensionals. Now I want to keep in mind that I've got the twine that's going to go across the middle, right? So I'm not going to put any dimensionals right in the middle so that it kind of lays a little bit flatter and smoother. So we'll kind of do that and we'll get rid of our backings here. Did I spritz the foil? I did not spritz the foil, Deb. It's not necessary. The foil really accepts embossing really well, so it is not necessary to spritz the foil, but that's a very good question. I probably should have mentioned that. Thank you for bringing it up. Okay, so there is almost done, my almost finished card, but now we need to tie a beautiful bow. Okay, so those of you who have watched my videos before, you know that I make a point of doing a bow tying lesson every week. So here I have some of that braided linen trim, okay? I am holding it between my thumb and, not my thumb, my index and middle fingers, okay? I'm just kind of pinching it and it is flat. It's not twisted at all, okay? It's perfectly flat. I'm going to pinch between my thumb and index, again, keeping the ribbon flat, not allowing it to twist. It's a little bit trickier with this narrow stuff. Okay, so I've got 2 loops. Do you see those loops? All right, now I'm going to take my left loop, I'm going to cross it over the right, and then this little hole here, I'm going to bring that loop that I just crossed over through and pull. And then I just adjust the size of my loops here. And I did a pretty big bow on this one. Sometimes I like to do big bows. Okay, and there it is. Quick and easy. No muss, no fuss bow. Now that tail's a little on the long side, okay? And I'm going to stick this just sort of here to the left of my pumpkin. So I'm going to adhere it just with a glue dot. I press the knot of my bow into the glue dot, and there is my bow. My twine is very twisty, doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. If that keeps sticking up, you can just stick it down with a glue dot if you wanted to. But there you go. There's your finished card. You like? Give me some love, people. Give me some love if you like it. Okay, now on the inside of this, I added this is the original. I'm not going to take the time to do this now. But on the inside, I added a Whisper White panel, and I stamped another one of the sentiments from the Come Together suite. Or sorry, from the Gather Together stamp set in the Mint Macaron. Okay? All right, so that is project number 1 done and done. Let's get this out of the way. We'll get our pumpkins out of the way. And we'll get this out of the way. All right. Moving on. Project number 2 is this beauty. Now I am rather partial to the look of Mary Merlot and Cajun Craze together. I think that is just a gorgeous color combination. And when you throw in some gold metallic, oh, it's just so yummy. So this is one of my very favorite cards. Sometimes, you know, you make a card and you're just like, oh, really, really like this one. And this is that for me. So I'm just going to dump out all my little bits here and show you what I did. So the first thing I'm going to do, thank you, Judy. Thanks, Deb. The first thing I'm going to do is take a piece. So remember that DSP that I said I've used up? This is it. So this is that linen polka dot on one side, and it's got the beautiful fall leaves on the other. The nice thing about this is because it's fall, the leaves are going any which way because the wind's blowing them. So it doesn't really matter what direction, what orientation you use it in. So this piece is cut to 4 by 5 1/4 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to bring in some of the beautiful new Golden Glitz Delicata metallic ink. Okay, this is new in the catalog, and if you have used metallic gold ink before, you may have been disappointed with it. Sometimes it just looks yellow, it doesn't really look gold. Sometimes it just doesn't stamp evenly. This stuff is the bomb. Okay, I've used a lot of different gold inks before. This is by far my favorite one ever. So we are going to take the little spatter stamp, which is part of the Gather Together stamp set. And I'm going to ink up the spatter, and I'm going to start stamping about 2/3 of the way up my, whoops, I didn't ink that very well. Let's try that again. There we go. I'm going to start about 2/3 of the way up my DSP. Okay, and this stamp is one that it's kind of a triangle shape, so you can kind of interlock them. So you do one right side up, and then you flip it, and then you do it upside down. And you still end up with a pretty random spatter pattern when you're done. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this so you can see it. Okay, so there, can you see that gold shimmery spatter there? Okay, oh, Sandy, I love them too. They are such great inks. Okay, so there is my background. Okay, so we just added that extra little shimmer to this beautiful, already beautiful DSP. Don't forget that it is okay to stamp on your DSP. Okay, it is paper too, and it is totally acceptable to stamp on it. All right, next I have this frame. So this frame was cut using the Heirloom Frames dies. So those dies are available with the dies in the embossing folder with it. So you can actually emboss a frame onto here, but I decided to use the hammered metal embossing folder. So this is not part of the suite, but it totally looks fabulous for fall. Okay, I've actually used this more for fall than I have for Christmas. So what I'm going to do, I just cut the frame and then ran it through the embossing folder. This is more gold foil cardstock. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my DSP panel using some dimensionals. So I'll probably use 6, one in each corner and then one in the middle. So we'll get rid of these backings. And then we are going to adhere this so that it is just about equidistant on 3 sides, top and 2 sides. Okay, we're not going to worry about the bottom because we need to leave extra space for our little leaf arrangement. Okay, so that's stuck to there. And now we're going to do some floral arranging with leaves again. Okay, so here I have a whole bunch of leaves again that I have die cut using those beautiful gathered leaves dies. And this time I have used Early Espresso, Cajun Craze, and Mary Merlot. Okay, so that's my color scheme here. And now again, it's just a matter of arranging my leaves. Now, here is a tip. Do you notice on here, I've used one of those wooden tags. So here's my tag. Okay, so I'm actually going to do this arranging in 2 layers. I'm going to do 1 layer on the card, and then I'm going to do another layer on the tag. Okay, and what I'm going to do when I do my tag, I'm actually going to rotate it so that little hole is hidden, so we're not going to see it. It's just going to look like a wooden embellishment. Okay, all right, so let's start. Okay, we're going to start with some Cajun Craze. So for these, I'm going to add just a little bit of Fast Fuse. So we're going to do our Cajun Craze sort of in the bottom corners. Okay, just like that. Then we're going to bring in some Early Espresso, and we're going to do the bottom corners kind of going in the opposite direction. So we'll kind of go here and here. Okay, then where'd my gold, there it is, my gold maple leaf. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to do my Merry Merlot first. Okay, so now we're going to layer these guys. So for this, I'm going to add just a little bit more because they're going to layer on top. And we'll do another one on this side. Just like that. And honestly, there is no wrong way to do this. You just want something that looks pretty, right? Okay, now before I adhere anything to this tag, I'm not sure it shows up on the camera, but can you see the metallic border on this little log here? So I am going to take my gold, or my little wooden piece, and my gold ink pad, and I am just going to kind of drag it across the front of the pad. And you're going to see that I'm going to pick up that gold metallic color. Can you see that? And it's just going to give, it almost looks like the edge, the outer edge of this wooden piece has been embossed, heat embossed. But it isn't, it's just inked. Okay, can you see that? It's a really pretty effect. I'm not sure how well that shows up on the camera. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and adhere the rest of our leaves. So I've got an extra maple leaf here. We are going to, oh, no, I don't. I lied. We are going to adhere our gold 3-point leaf. This is the smaller one. So I'm putting my glue dot on the front because I'm going to stick it to the back of this tag. Okay. Then I can add in my early espresso leaf. So we'll just add a little bit of fast fuse there. And we'll kind of pop that in behind. Okay. And then I'm going to add my gold maple leaf to the bottom. And we'll just add a couple of glue dots for that. Whoopsie. All right, so we'll do that right about there. Okay, now this is ready to glue on to the front of my card. Okay, now to glue this, you want to use some good, strong adhesive. So I'm going to use Fast Fuse. Fast Fuse is really strong. You can use Tombow. You do need to give it time to set up. Okay, you could also use tear and tape, but you need something that's pretty strong. All right, so we're going to just add that to the front of our card like that. Okay, and then this is ready to get glued onto my card base. So here I have a piece of Merry Merlot cardstock. It is cut to 4 1/4 by 11 inches, so it's a half sheet of cardstock. And then I have scored it in the middle at 5 1/2 inches. I'm going to fold in half along my score line. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the front of my card. I don't know if you guys just heard that. My doorbell just rang. I have no idea who was at my door. That's okay. They'll just have to wait or go away. It's probably somebody selling something is probably what it is. All right, so I've added my adhesive, and then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the front of my card, just like that. Okay, and then we need to do our sentiment. So here I have a little 1/2 inch strip. This is just a piece of scrap, 1/2 inch strip of Crumb Cake cardstock. And I'm going to bring in my Wishing You Well stamp. Now this does not have to be for Thanksgiving or fall, right? Wishing You Well could be for anything. You could just send it as an encouragement card. You could send it as a get well card. There are lots of occasions you could use this sentiment for. Now I'm going to try really hard to stamp this somewhat centered while not looking directly over my, oh, that was pretty good. Not bad. So I am stamping in early espresso ink. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. And then we are going to trim our ends using my tailored tag trick. As soon as I find where I put my tailored tag punch. Where did you go, tailored tag punch? There you are. All right. It was hiding in plain sight. I was man looking. All right. So I'm going to take my tailored tag punch. I'm going to slide my little strip in until I see that sentiment peeking out from behind. And then I'm going to back it off a little bit, centering the strip and punch. Okay. And then I get a perfect pennant each time. Now on this end, I want to leave a little bit more space because I want to have room for my bow. So I'm going to back it out a little bit more than I did on the other end. Okay. That gives me a little bit of space to put my twine. And now I'm going to bring in my Cajun Craze twine. So some of you may be in the habit of wrapping your twine around and then tying a bow straight up. And that is great. If you are that good and are good at tying bows, it's the way to go. However, many of us are not. So this is a little trick that does not require you to tie a bow on something this little teeny tiny. So you are going to adhere the end of your twine with a glue dot to the back of your little strip. Okay, so I've wound it around twice and crisscrossed it. And then I'm pressing the other end into the glue dot as well. Okay, so now I have my twine wrapped around my strip. Let me just fix that up a little bit. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and tie a double bow. All right, so here we go. Another bow tying lesson. This is a double twine bow. So I have my Cajun Craze linen thread. Okay, I'm folding it back on itself, so I have a double thickness. Okay, then I'm going to make my loop. Okay, I've got both strands there. Can you see that? I got both strands. So I made a loop, taking my tail, wrapping it around, and putting it through that little hole, and then adjusting my loops. Now, this is a double bow, but it doesn't really look like a double bow because the twine is kind of layered on itself. So the trick with this is to pull one end, one of the thicknesses, a little bit more than the other. And then that accentuates the fact that you've got a double bow. Okay, so that's just a little tip for tying double bows with twine. All right, so then I am going to take a glue dot and roll it into a little booger, little glue booger. And I'm pressing it onto my little tag there, and then I'm going to press the knot right into that. Okay, and then I have my little banner. Simple, eh? Okay, now this is going to go right across the front of my little wooden piece here. And I actually adhered this with some dimensionals. So we're actually going to put the dimensionals right on the wood. And then just center that, and preferably straight. Doesn't have to be, but I personally like my sentiments to be straight. If you're going to do it crooked, do it obviously crooked, like you meant to. Okay, so there's your finished card. Now on the inside of this one, I added, again, another Whisper White panel. Anytime I'm using darker cardstock, I always add a Whisper White panel so that it is easier to read the writing. And I've stamped another sentiment from the Come Together or Gather Together stamp set, and then that beautiful maple leaf in the Mary Merlot ink. Okay, so there is project number 2, done and done. And now we're going to do our last project, which looks like that. And I love this color combination for fall. So a lot of people said, and me included, when I was on the incentive trip and I saw the fall colors, or the colors in the fall paper, I kind of went, really? Blue for fall? And you know what? It totally works. Thank you, Deb. I'm glad you like it. I really love this color combination, and I would never have ever thought to use this pretty peacock for fall, but I just love it. That with the Mary Merlot, absolutely stunning. So this is a pretty quick card. I'm going to show you how to put it together. We're going to start with a piece of that, again, there's that polka dot linen. Same cards, or same DSP that I used on the previous card. And this is cut to 4 by 3 inches. So you can get 12 of these out of one single sheet. Hey Jen, how you doing? How are things in Florida? All right, so now I'm going to take my wheat sheaf and some early espresso ink, and I'm going to stamp right on my DSP again. I am a big fan of stamping on DSP. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like them. So I'm going to ink up with early espresso, and I'm going to stamp my wheat sheaf a few times. Now, I'm going to overlap the ends. It's not going to look especially pretty, but don't worry. It's going to get hidden. Okay, so don't go, oh, that's ugly. It's okay. It's going to get hidden. We're not going to see it. Okay, so there are my wheat sheaves. We'll set this aside. Always closing the ink pad so we don't have little oopsies. And now I'm going to show you a little trick for applying your ribbon to the back of your DSP. So here I have a piece of our scalloped linen ribbon. This is in the Pretty Peacock, and it is lovely ribbon. Now you could apply the whole piece to the back of your DSP, so cut one for the top and one for the bottom. But we can cut this ribbon in half and save ourselves a little bit. Oh, I bet it's hot down there. It is warm up here today, and I can't even imagine how warm it is down there. So I am taking my good ribbon scissors, and I'm cutting my scalloped ribbon in half lengthwise. All right. Then I'm going to run either some snail, I'm going to use fast fuse because that's just what I have here, along the bottom edge, right along the edge of the back side of my DSP. okay? And then I'm gonna take and just lay my DSP right over that little piece of ribbon that I trimmed, just like that, okay? I'm not gonna do anything with these ends yet, okay? I love this paper too, Jen. It is, actually, I think it's my favorite in the catalog. I love it because it's so versatile and there are so many different patterns. Now this, you want to make sure you get your adhesive right up to the edge of your DSP. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other edge. So again, we're going to layer this and try not to stick your paper to your grid paper. Okay, so now we have our ribbon. We only had to use one piece of ribbon that we cut in half. Okay, furnace is on in Calgary. Oh my goodness, Deb, don't say that. I'm not ready for the furnace yet. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and glue this onto our background panel. So this is a piece of early espresso cardstock. Okay, it is embossed using the Scripty embossing folder. I love this embossing folder. It's really, really subtle, but just adds a really nice bit of texture. So we're going to go ahead and glue this on right across the middle of that panel. So I'm just going to add a little bit more adhesive to the sides here. And then I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these ends that we still have sticking out. Okay. So again, when you are gluing and you're trying to get things straight, use your grid paper. It is your friend. You can get things straight. I'm doing that too low. There we go. I can't see this at that angle. I got to turn it this way. Sorry, guys. It is very hard to see when there is a camera, well, specifically a cell phone, between you and your work. It's a challenge. All right. Now that's a little on the wide side, but that's okay. Okay, so here I have my panel. Now, rather than taking my scissors and trimming those ends off, I'm going to actually take and wrap these around and secure them to the back side of my panel. Okay, that is because this ribbon is linen, and you know what happens to linen? It frays. Can you see that? So if I cut this off, I run the risk of having a frayed edge at the side of my card. So instead, I'm going to put a glue dot on the back of each little bit that's sticking out there. And now see, I got that frayed bit because I purposely frayed it. Let's just snip that off so it's not sticking out. There we go. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on each piece. So I'm going to just wrap these around. Okay, and then you're not going to have little frayed ends from trimming your ribbon. Okay, so that's just a little tip that I figured out because I was getting really frustrated. I like this little tip of trimming the ribbon, but then you run the risk of having frayed edges. Okay, alrighty. So now we are ready to build the rest of our card. So the rest really comes together pretty quickly. So I have a maple leaf. So this is cut from copper foil. And I use that same maple leaf die that's part of the die set. And then again, embossed it with the hammered metal embossing folder. And look at that. Oh, I just love that texture. So we are going to go ahead and apply a bit of adhesive to the back of that leaf. And we're going to pop it on. Now we want to make sure we don't cover up our wheat sheaves, right? So we're just going to kind of pop that on there, making sure we can see our little wheat sheaves peeking out. Okay. And then we're going to add a pretty peacock and a Merry Merlot leaf. So again, just a little bit of fast fuse or snail or glue dots or Tombow, whatever you have on hand. We'll just kind of tuck those in there. Okay. And I forgot to grab another little, I put my embellishments. They're there. Let's grab another little wooden tag here. So just a tip, when you are popping these out, just use care. You can get little sort of splinters on the edge if you aren't careful when you're popping those out. Okay. Now you're going to notice that on here, do you see how this is darker? Okay. So we're going to do that with a sponge dauber and I think I used soft suede. I made this card a while ago. We're going to have an adventure. We'll see what it looks like. We're going to try soft suede. Okay, so got my dauber, I've got my soft suede ink, and this is how easy it is. Watch this. So I'm literally just kind of going all the way around the edges. I like to do the edges first to make sure that I don't miss any of it. This dauber is in bad shape. It needs to be replaced. I'm not getting very even coverage. And then I'm just going to take and sponge over the whole thing. I might have used Crumb Cake on my original. That's okay. This is a little bit darker. No biggie. Okay, do you see the difference in color? Okay, so you can darken these down really, really easily just with a sponge dauber and a little bit of ink. Okay, all right, so now that is ready to go onto the front of our card. And for this, I think I'm going to actually use a little bit of Tombow because we have some time to let it set up. So just a little squiggle of Tombow on the back there. And we're going to pop this right onto the front, just like that. Okay, we're going to press it into place and then we're going to let it sit for a minute. Meanwhile, we are going to stamp our sentiment. So this is more of that beautiful DSP. This is that piece that looks like hardwood flooring with planks. And if you cut them following the lines in the planks, you just get what looks like a little piece of wood, right? So we can stamp our Season of Thanks in Early Espresso right on that DSP. And it looks like a little wooden sign. So we're going to go ahead, ink that up with some Early Espresso, and hopefully get that reasonably centered and straight. That wasn't too bad. And then again, we're going to do our tailored tag trick. Hi, Giselle. Oh no, you almost missed me. I'm glad you didn't miss me. I'm glad you found me. So again, we're going to punch our banner ends. We're using the tailored tag punch. Okay, that one's a little bit long. We'll just take a little bit more off there. That's better. Okay, and then this is going to go across the front of our little wood piece, just like that. So with it, for this, I'm just going to add a bit of fast fuse and lay that right across the front, just like that. Okay, now this is ready to go onto my card base. My card base is cut from Pretty Peacock ink. It is 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. I will fold in half along my score line. And then we're going to go ahead and adhere our panel to the front of our card. Again, use whatever adhesive you prefer. And we're just going to pop this on here. Centering it, you'll have about 1/8 of an inch border. Just like that. Now we're almost finished. We have to do a little bit of embellishing. Now, these little gems, do you know any guesses what these are? No, we don't sell them this way in the catalog. They come as these. So these are our frosted and clear enamel dots, enamel shapes, or enamel, I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, they come in frosted and clear. These are some of the frosted ones. And what I'm going to do is take my dark Cajun Craze blends and I'm going to color it. So I am going to turn these silvery frosted embellishments into beautiful glowing copper embellishments. It is amazing, the transformation. What a difference. Can you see that? They aren't rhinestones, Jen. These are our frosted enamel dots. Okay? So dark Cajun Craze blends with the frosted enamel dots, and look at that. Isn't that a beautiful copper accent? So we're just going to take and pop a few of these onto the front of our card. I've used some larger ones than I used in my original, but that really doesn't matter. It's just to add that beautiful glowing copper color. And then our last step is to take a little bit more of our braided linen trim. Did I mention I love this stuff? And we're going to tie another little bitty bow. Okay, so making my bunny ears, my loops, crossing the left over the right and bringing it through the loop. Now, if you just tuned in and you just saw me tie that bow and you didn't see me tie the other one, you got to go back and watch the replay. I did that one rather quickly. My first one I did much more slowly. Okay, so there is my bow. I'm going to press it into a glue dot. And then I'm going to pop that right at the top of my little tag there where the hole is. It looks like it might be threaded through the hole, but it's not. Okay, really simple, but so pretty. Thank you, Giselle. I'm glad you like it. All right, so on the inside of my original, let's see what I did on here. I added some wheat sheaves. Now, these are stamped in Early Espresso, both full strength and stamped off. Okay. Hi, Julie. Hi, Irene. You guys just caught me. I'm just about wrapping up here. And then I also stamped another sentiment in the Pretty Peacock. Okay. So let me bring in all three projects again. so that you can see them one more time, especially for those who are just joining us. So there are the 3 projects. All of these projects are featuring the Come Together suite in the Holiday Catalog. One of my favorite suites in the catalog. Thank you, Jen, so much. Hi, Deneen. How are you doing? So these are simple, not terribly complicated cards, but made really easy to put together by the awesome products in this suite. Now, before I go, let me just remind you that this is the last week. You have one more week, 7 days from today, to take advantage of my Harvest to Lowe's online class. So this online class features 6 products, and it is free with a $60 order. Okay, so now this is only for people in Canada. I'm sorry I can't ship to the US, but I'm going to show you the 6 projects really quickly. So here we have a Get Well card and a cute little tissue holder. So this would be an awesome gift for somebody who's under the weather a little bit. So there's those 2, and then we have a Thanksgiving card and a cute little hand sanitizer holder. So this is our little pocket backs from Bath & Body Works. Okay, another little coordinating gift set. Then we have a fun little pumpkin card and a beautiful, elegant Thanksgiving card that could easily be made just a thank you card by omitting the word give. Okay, so those are the 6 projects in this class. As I said, you have one more week to take advantage. All you need to do to order the class is place an online order in my store at lenagursa.stampinup.net using this host code. Okay, and that is how I will know that you would like this class, and I will get it cut and shipped out to you. In addition to the 6 project kits, you will receive a tutorial video to assemble and put all the projects together, as well as a PDF with all of the supplies and measurements in case you want to recreate the projects. Okay? All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for my Tuesday Live at 5, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.